Good morning, everyone, or perhaps good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we're super excited to feature a special guest, and that's Brad Gray from Talbert House. And today, we're going to be discussing how they've connected clients and branches. And actually, um, we are welcoming Brad here in our discussion, and we're going to go over the Talbert House deployment and have a look at their network and actually have a great interactive discussion with Brad about that. We're very excited that all of you have chosen to take a little bit of time out of your day to join us for the session. And let's have a look at what's ahead by taking a look at the agenda for today. We'll kick it off with a quick introduction to Cisco Meraki and to cloud networking, just so that some of you who may not be as familiar with those get a little bit of background on it. But then we'll spend the bulk of our time actually going through the Talbert House deployment and speaking with Brad, and also going through a live demo of their networks. And then we'll wrap it up at the end with a quick look at the overall Cisco Meraki product line and leave some time for Q&A. And if you do have any questions, whether it's for me about Meraki, for Brad about Talbert House or their deployment, it would be fantastic if you enter those questions into the questions area of GoToWebinar. With me on the line is my colleague Kat, and she's waiting for your questions. So please keep her busy, and we'll be answering those as they go along. And of course, we'll queue some up for the end so that when we get to the Q&A section, then we can go over some of those, perhaps go into a little bit more depth and further discussion. Now, before we start off with the first item here, there's just one item of logistics to cover, and that is that we are offering a free access point to the qualified IT professionals that are here with us today. This is a Cisco Meraki 802.11n AP, similar to the ones that you see there on the screen, and it comes with a 3-year cloud management license. It's yours to keep, and you can take it home, get it up and running in about 5 or 10 minutes or so. It's very, very straightforward, and that way you'll have the full experience of the Meraki solution right in your own hands. We do ask that you please give us a quick telephone call so that we can confirm the shipping information that we have on file for you. And naturally, we want to send that info to the right address. And if you can't quite remember who you're supposed to call, just go ahead and look for the reminder email that was sent out before the start of this webinar. And there you'll find contact information for your Cisco Meraki rep. So let's go ahead and start off with the first item of our agenda then, and that's just to give a little bit of background into Cisco Meraki. Cisco Meraki is a completely cloud-managed networking solution that includes Wi-Fi, switching, security, and mobile device management, all of which are centrally managed over the web. And in fact, they're built from the ground up for cloud management. What that really means is that the hardware, the software, the cloud services are designed and built by the Meraki team for a very feature-rich, but also easy to use and seamless experience right out of the box. We are the leaders in cloud managed networking. There are tens of thousands of customers across all industries that have deployed the Meraki solution. And recently, we've seen tremendously strong growth. In fact, over 100% annual growth. We've been operating in the cloud since 2006. And over those years have been recognized not only by those customers, but also by outside organizations for our innovation. For example, CRN, InfoWorld, and Gartner in their Magic Quadrant. Besides those tens of thousands of customers across the different industries that I mentioned, we are also trusted by hundreds of healthcare customers. And these are just a few of the organizations and their logos. Of those that have deployed the Meraki solution, we also feature many of these and others on our website. If you go to meraki.cisco.com, click on deployment stories in the upper left, you'll actually be able to see a little bit more detail about some of these and others, read their story about how they selected the Meraki solution and what benefits they've seen with it. And if you do read one of those, or if you see an interesting logo right here on the screen now, and you want to talk to someone at one of those organizations, then just go ahead and let us know, and we'd be happy to set up a reference call for you. So that's a quick introduction to Cisco Meraki, and I think you'll have a better understanding of it once we get into the demo also. But before we do that and go into the specific Talbert House deployment, it is useful to understand what we mean by cloud networking and just go into a little bit of background around that. And really, cloud networking is designed to solve modern IT challenges. And these are challenges that we've seen across many, many industries as we've talked to our customers and surveyed what they've been dealing with and the trends and impact that uh, mobile devices are having in the environment. We see, of course, iOS and Android, two of the most popular types of new devices that have been showing up. We also see new kinds of healthcare applications that are being used to improve patient care and services. And people are increasingly relying on rich media and video for collaboration, for sharing, also for content delivery, learning, and also for healthcare care services. So we've kept those in mind as we've developed the product and as we've added more and more features to it, and also as we've implemented it in the dashboard. And when we talk about cloud networking architecture, this is really what we mean. We really start off with Meraki devices that are deployed on site in a customer's location, and they're connected to the Meraki cloud. Now, this could be through Wi-Fi APs, but we can also be talking about switches or security appliances. And if you have one location or dozens or hundreds of locations, each of those pieces of Meraki network infrastructure are connected back to the Meraki cloud. And it's then that system that has or that enables the management that's centralized through the Meraki dashboard. Of course, we'll be showing you that in just a little bit. We've designed and built the system in this way because it really brings the benefits of the cloud to healthcare networks. And we've kept a few things in mind. I think there are two really important aspects about the architecture that are important to point out. One is that no user traffic passes through the cloud. That's the first bullet there under security. In fact, it's only management and configuration data that flows between, say, the Meraki switch or the Meraki AP and the Meraki cloud. We've also integrated a whole host of pretty robust security tools, things like security audits and vulnerability testing, two-factor authentication, change management logs, role-based administration, and so on, that together enable the solution to be deployed in secure environments, for example, in HIPAA compliant or for retailers, PCI compliant environments. The other aspect that I'd like to point out is around reliability. Now, in the previous slide, we didn't cover the details of the data center footprint and stuff like that, but there is a highly available cloud with multiple data centers that are distributed around the world. They have built-in backup, built-in redundancy, and the important point to note that is that the network still continues to work even if that connection to the cloud is interrupted. So even if that link on the left in blue is temporarily interrupted, users will still be able to connect to the network. They'll still be able to print and use file sharing servers. They'll still be able to access the applications and resources they need. In addition to having the highly available cloud, we also back up the service with a very high uptime SLA, 4 nines of uptime. And last but not least is scalability. We've kept an eye on making the operation of networking very, very efficient and easy to use. And with scalability, you can actually expand or modify your capacity needs as your business requires it. So if you want to add capacity, say adding access points or adding switches, or if you want to add an entirely new location, say adding a new branch that you're bringing up, you can do that in just a few minutes. When you first turn on and mount a Meraki device, whether it's racking it in a switch closet or mounting it on the wall in the case of an AP, the device, once you turn it on, will automatically connect to the Meraki cloud. It'll just use your local infrastructure to do that, say going through a switch or a security appliance. And it'll contact the Meraki cloud. It will identify itself by its serial number. And then the cloud will recognize that this new device belongs to you, and it will automatically send the appropriate configuration into the device, and this device will become part of your network. And of course, you can watch all this happen from the Meraki dashboard. You can verify the configuration. You can see clients begin to connect to it and so on. And that means you can, from a centralized location, expand your capacity very quickly and very easily. So with that quick introduction to the Cisco Meraki solution, a little bit of background into the technology, I'm super excited and also very grateful to have Brad Gray from Talbert House joining us here today. And what we're going to do is actually have a conversation with Brad and walk through a little bit about some background with Talbert House about the deployment, some of the challenges and results that they've seen with the Meraki solution. So, Brad, first of all, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule and joining us today.
Thank you, Pablo. It's a privilege, and the Meraki product has probably been what given me the extra time to be able to do this today.
Oh, fantastic. That's great to hear. If you wouldn't mind, can you give the audience a little bit of background about the Talbert House and let folks know what you guys do?
Absolutely. The Talbert House is located in Cincinnati, Ohio. We have several outreach offices. I think at this time we're between 32 and 36 outreach offices. And we offer programs in adult and youth behavioral health, community care, court and corrections, rehab assistance, several different areas that we serve throughout the greater Cincinnati area. The mission is to improve social behavior and enhance personal growth and recovery. We staff about 850 employees and serve nearly 30,000 clients a year. That varies on a year to year, but it's usually right in that 28 to 30,000 clients.
Great. So it sounds like you have a pretty diverse and spread out footprint. We're actually going to look at a map in just a little bit. Can you talk to us a little bit about the IT staff and your role there?
Absolutely. We're all fairly new to the organization. We have David Cook, who is one of our senior infrastructure specialists, Richard Demerly, who is also an infrastructure specialist slash Citrix engineer, myself as the network administrator, project manager, help desk manager, and our director, Joe Kuth. We are all about a year and 2 months old with the Talbert House. We came into the organization, and there were several challenges right up front. Nothing that was major, but things that we wanted to address to try to assist in daily operations for the clients and to assist in a better end user experience for our users. And we were looking at several different solutions to fix what we seen, the IT department seen as time consuming. One being our existing network structure required us to step out and visit each of these sites if something happened. Some of these sites are about an hour away. So by the time, we're just like everybody else. We're looking at how long our uptime can be maintained. And if we lose somebody for a couple hours, that in the healthcare industry translate into multiple amounts of dollars that we lose. So we were looking for a way to move through that, and with Joe, Rick, David, and myself, along with our partners in NetTech, we ended up settling on the Meraki solution.
Great. So it sounds like four people that are covering 800 plus employees, 36 locations, and yeah, I can definitely understand what you're saying. If you have to drive out for an hour, to try to fix something, that's of course assuming that someone can just drop everything that they're doing and immediately go to attend that. Um, so, can you walk us through a little bit of what the topology looks like across those different locations in terms of the network infrastructure?
I can. At this time, we've got MX80s and MX90 security appliances deployed. We've got the Z1 teleworker gateways deployed. We've got the MS42 and 42P as well as the 320 switches deployed. Um, and you'll have to excuse me for a minute. My computer just went black. We're using Systems Manager as well to monitor and maintain various devices from desktop level to phones. I honestly think we probably have, it seems like, at least one of everything that Meraki has to offer for various different reasons. And it all started with a free trial. That's something anybody that's listening, if you're interested in Meraki, I would absolutely call a customer service representative. They're great about sending out free trial products. You get those for 14 days, 30 days. If you need extended time, they're great working with you on the demo of those. And that's pretty much how we handled it. We said, send us some equipment to demo. We got some equipment in, started working, and seen the benefits, and that was a major selling point then.
Great. Yeah, I can imagine a few people might be jealous of your being able to have one of each. I myself would love to play with one of each of those products. Seems like could be a lot of fun. In terms of how you approached cloud networking and when you first started looking at the Meraki solution, can you give us a few of the things that you found were beneficial from having that technology be your networking solution across those locations?
One of the main things we had to look at being in the healthcare field is the HIPAA compliancy, and we picked that up right off the bat from Meraki. We've been looking. I came in and there currently was not any wireless access in place at any of our locations, and everyone was talking at the management level of bring your own device. We were looking for something that was fast and dependable, and very scalable, and honestly, quick to set up. And usually when you think of configuration of a network the size of ours, you don't think of something that you can deploy quickly, but we'll get into that in a minute of how quick and how simple it really is. And we were looking for something secure. We needed a reliable internet connection for our clients, wired and wireless. We've got kiosk at various locations. Of course, the uptime difference that we've experienced since switching to Meraki, and the main thing is the centrally managed network devices, with all the Meraki devices being able to manage them all in the cloud, and the remote troubleshooting capability to decline the amount of travel time that we were spending going out to the sites.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the kind of the connectivity for the different locations because it sounds like each location has, or some of the locations have a slightly different footprint. You were starting off with not having wireless at all the locations, and obviously that's a big upgrade to be able to do that. So why don't we talk a little bit about how Talbert House connects in terms of the infrastructure? I think I've already seen a few questions from the audience about how specifically you are connecting. So if we go through that, that'll probably address some of those questions and probably trigger a few more as well.
Very, very good. Our current connection is a cloud, similar to everything else, a cloud-based connection. We use a local service provider um, to manage several of our in-state routers at the location. They deliver a Ethernet connection at each of our locations, and at that location we have either one of their devices, or in this case we have several now of the devices from Meraki, the security appliances in the MX90s and the MX80s that allow us to connect back. Once you get past your security appliances in the MX80 and the MX90s, the MX60s, the MX100s, we have the MS42P switches. We have at least one of those in every location that we own, and up to 5 or 6 of those in some of the locations. The locations that have the larger amount of switches, um, I will say most times, 99 times out of 100, those switches are connected to each other via either GBIC and fiber or twin-ax fiber cable to maintain the 10 gigabit speed that is offered through those. And then outside of the switch, we'll branch out to the access points. And if you're outside of the organization, we use the Z1. If you happen to be traveling, or some of us that work in the IT department use the Z1 at home to allow us remote access back in. It is a whole lot easier than setting up VPN connectivity through other devices, and very, very reliable with the ability to use a USB modem if you don't have direct wired internet connectivity at your house or at a remote location.
Yeah, for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with the Z1, it's a small teleworker gateway appliance that has wireless and wired connectivity, a few ports, and as Brad mentioned, can connect the remote worker, the teleworker, or sometimes the traveling employee back to HQ and extend the corporate network and, of course, all the associated resources in a very small form factor and very cost effective as well. In terms of the wireless, so you have some Wi-Fi deployed, and you're planning to continue the extension of Wi-Fi there. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you've approached that?
Absolutely. We deployed approximately 40 access points in a 40,000 square foot building. That was to support the high density environment with about 300 to 400 users in our executive office. We wanted to make sure that we were always on and always available. We have also deployed several access points at some of our remote locations, and it seems like each day we're getting more and more directors in those areas calling and asking, how soon can I have Wi-Fi? What do I need to do to get these access points? When can you install them? And that's the easy part. When they say, when can you install them? Everybody, I have always thought, well, I don't really have time, but with this you do, because once you punch your order number in, add it to the organization, whatever network you want it in, you're done. It's simply a 5-minute process to set up a new access point the way we have our organization structured at this time. We carry, we're averaging about 15 to 20 users per AP in our organization right now. We're running 3 SSIDs, getting ready to structure a fourth. We run a full-blown, full network access that requires password and splash page acceptance. We run a guest network that is no access to the internal network at all, only provides internet access, requires a splash page contract. Um, we run a mobile device configuration that, as you work more with Meraki, you'll understand how you can tag devices and do various different things. We have a couple, maybe 3 APs set up that are tagged, that are only able to be used for specific things. Only certain people can connect to those. And then the fourth one that we're looking at setting up is the pay for Wi-Fi structure. We also have several housing units that we currently provide internet access via wired internet, um, that the residents are responsible for paying for, and more with the mobile devices, we're getting requests for the ability to connect wirelessly. And as a structure with the Meraki product, you can configure an SSID that will ask them to pay either via a gift card that you can provide via, I think PayPal works, credit card, debit card, any of that type of stuff can be used, and you can set the amount that you want to charge and how long you want them to have access to. And what we're currently looking at is more of a daily pay-per-use access at a set rate that we haven't determined yet.
It sounds like a lot of flexibility in terms of the Wi-Fi, and thankfully you can extend the coverage or add new locations pretty easily. You mentioned one thing about client devices. I'd like to dive into that a little bit further, and that's kind of into the devices that your team owns or manages, and maybe a little bit into what users and guests might be bringing in. And systems manager, also for those of you not familiar, those of you on the line, is a cloud-based mobile device management. So, Brad, can you talk a little bit about how you've been using that?
I absolutely will, and there are several options to that. It's like everything else with the Meraki products in the cloud. It's so scalable that we found lots of uses. Our corporate network, we use basically, well, we use 3 types of phones. We use a Windows phone, an Apple phone, and the Android phone. Um, for those of you that that think I drink the total Kool-Aid, I'll be the first to tell you right off the bat, it does not work with Windows mobile devices at this time. I've asked. One of the best things you'll find when you deploy Meraki is there's a little button that says "Make a Wish," and I use it. I use it frequently, to the point that one night we were here late and just joking, I sent one that said I could use a cup of coffee, and it was shortly that I got an email of a cup of coffee from Starbucks. So they do monitor that, and they're fairly quick to reach back out to you. Um, we use Windows devices. We use laptop, desktop. I'm trying to think. A lot of Windows mobile device. Various brands of each different device at this time. We're currently working on a standard to wrap our heads around that. Um, at the mobile device level, it's very nice, especially if you have a lot of high turnover or a device that gets lost, because you can remotely wipe that device at any point in time. Um, on the laptops, we use it for several different things. One of the things we just started doing was some geofencing. We've got a remote site that clients have access to the laptops, and by adding the geofencing option, if it happens to walk off site for a period of time, and you can adjust that period of time as well, we get notified immediately via email that it has left the geofenced area. We also do some software push. You can do software distribution through the systems management. We've done that. The biggest thing that I really like is the inventory ability at the workstation level, whether it be a desktop or a laptop. It will dig in and it'll tell you the configuration of the machine, what operating system it's got, what software it's been installed, when the last updates were. There's several features to definitely take advantage of. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with Systems Manager, it's a free product from Meraki. You can go on and create your Meraki ID at cisco.meraki.cisco.com. Create your free ID and go on and start using Systems Manager now.
Fantastic. Yeah, sounds like quite a bit of diverse ways that you're using that systems manager for those different devices. And I do understand about the different types of hardware. So good luck with that standardization project for all those devices.
Thank you.
And in terms of the activity at the different sites, both with these devices that are managed by Systems Manager and also the ones that are not, can you talk a little bit about what information you get from the dashboard, what's useful for you that you see for all those different sites?
So I love this part of it, and our guest users on our wireless side absolutely hate it. We do monitor. We monitor quite a bit. Our line size, speed at the various locations vary from a fractional T1 to a 100 meg line at our executive office that's getting ready to be upgraded. So we do a lot of monitoring to see where the traffic's being utilized, and one of the big things with Meraki is it's very, very easy to do. And maybe we can step into that when we look at my network later. But when we first deployed the guest Wi-Fi, we noticed that traffic got real heavy, and you'll notice that everywhere when you first deploy a wireless outreach program. And and we got to looking and noticed that it was various users. At first, we had our guest wireless open, so anybody even outside the building could connect to the guest wireless. It has no touch whatsoever on our internal network. Wasn't hurting anything other than the amount of data that it was using. I noticed one Sunday night I had logged on from my phone and was checking a few things, and I noticed there was a lot of activity in the Meraki app from my iPhone on our wireless network. I pulled my laptop out, pulled the traffic, and we had some devices outside of our network. The APs that we have in place, we have the MR16s. The APs we have in place are very, very powerful. They're reaching one of our housing units about probably almost a block away. with the amount of spread that we have. And we had people in our housing units that were connecting to the Wi-Fi. Not only were they surfing Facebook, which is normal, we had a whole lot of Netflix, YouTube, Google Video, that
Bandwidth
type
hogs.
stuff. Bandwidth hogs. And what's very, very nice is you can go in and select, if you see that one individual is causing all the traffic, you can go in, create a group policy, and do some layer 7 filtering and say, don't allow this person access to Netflix anymore. Don't allow them access to Google Video. Don't allow them access to YouTube. I didn't mind that they were using it on an occasional basis. That's not what was taking all the bandwidth. It was the video streaming that was really when they start streaming high def Netflix movies, you're looking about 1.3 to 2 gig per movie, and it was just bogging us down. And as we started filtering some of that, we we ended up going back and restructuring our guest network to require a password and some of that other stuff. And moving forward, that's why we're looking at the ability to do the pay-per-use.
Yeah, that makes total sense. We've seen many organizations that do something similar with kind of allowing some recreational traffic, but really keeping an eye on the activity that causes an impact to the rest of the network, especially with such high traffic. HD streaming video and HD video conferencing is a great example of those.
One of the things, Pablo, that was really nice was having the ability to reach out, excuse me, to reach out and set time frames on when an SSID was available.
Hmm.
We were able to go out on the particular SSID and make it only available during work hours.
Yeah, that's a feature called time scheduling, and you can also, in addition to turning it on or off, you can also apply different policies or different rules. So you might want to have very restricted access to Netflix or something during business hours or during the week, but perhaps a slightly more relaxed access to those kinds of sites at a different time using those time-based policies. So, Brad, what I'd like to do is go over a little bit of your network. But first, just thank you for sharing all that you've shared so far with us and sharing a little bit about the deployment and your needs and how you've met those needs with the audience.
Thank you.
So just before the webinar started, I pulled up the overview of your organization just so that we can start off kind of at a higher level and zoomed out to see what it is that you see on a day-to-day basis and how you manage those 36 locations from the dashboard. And so what we'll do is just start off at kind of the overview level, and then if you don't mind, Brad, you can pick one of the locations to dive into, and then we can have a look at some of the details there, whether it's the different clients that are connecting, the applications that are being used, and so on. And
Absolutely.
I'll just log in here since my login did time out since the top of the hour. And then I'll load what's called the organization overview. And organizations can include one or more networks. And of course, a network is a collection of Wi-Fi APs or switches or security appliances, or sometimes a combination thereof. And from this view, you can see here in Cincinnati, we can see the different locations of those sites. The green icons indicate networks that are healthy and online, and the red icons indicate areas where we might want to investigate and have a further look. And we can also sort or search this list of networks, and it looks like you have a pretty well organized naming convention here. For example, if we search for 2600, we see the 2600 Victory Network. We can also expand this out and have a look at which networks are the most popular in terms of traffic or number of clients or network health, just to see which ones are healthy and which ones need more attention. Brad, which one do you think we should pick to dive in on here?
So Actually, let's scroll down and let's look at the wireless real quick first. You'll see Talbert House Wireless about midway down the page.
Yep.
And I like to share this one because this is where you get a kind of a feel. Not only can you see this on the wireless, you'll see this on any of the networks that you look at. Um, One of the things I did want to mention, Pablo, is when you get to that first screen, the Meraki app that's available is very nice, and it's kind of my right hand, especially early in the mornings and late at night. First thing I do, I get up, get ready for work. As I'm getting ready to pull out of the driveway, I'll pop that up, see if I've got any red. If I've got any red, I'll look to see if it's something that should have been expected, an outage that we knew about, or as you've seen there earlier, there was event Wi-Fi and event network that was down. That's something that travels to various different sites that we use for opportunities for our sites and clients. Um, so if it's red, green, yellow is another color you'll see that makes things very quick to get your day started and to end your day as you're worried about this stuff. And then when you start getting more into it, you'll see on the left of the screen that he's got pulled up. In the center of the screen, you see the two green dots. That's a couple of the areas where we have Wi-Fi deployed that exist in this network. Um, those two are actually side by side, one on one side of the street, one on the other here at this location. So you're going to see some clients that are probably connected at this time, and your guess on what they're doing right now is going to be as good as mine, and I'm not scared to share it. So first off, I want to start looking at the clients over on the left hand side. You go in and it'll give you a client list, and you can sort this however you like. Top right, you'll see the graph of how much traffic they're using along with a pie chart, and as you hover over that pie chart, it'll tell you what different things are, and there's the perfect example. Google Video right off the bat, we've got 473 meg. That's for the last day. You can sort by last day, last week, last month, however you want to look at that to see those pie charts and break it down a little more. When you hover over those, you can click on that. Once you click on it, it's going to take you to a list. You can go in and select your Google Video. Once you select your Google Video, it's going to show you a list of the clients that have been using that, how much traffic they have generated across that. What you're seeing on the left-hand side where it says description, that's actually the device. Some of those devices are named by the user. Some of them are the default name that's provided by the manufacturer. It also shows you the manufacturer of that device. It shows you the OS that that device is using. It'll show you how much data they're using and what percentage of that, for this instance, Google Video, 87.4% came from the very first device labeled Android. So if you'll click on that Android device, Pablo, you've got control there. I wanted to step down and show some of the options that you have with this. It tells you what access point that's connected to. Again, you get the device type and how it is connected. And then down at the bottom where you see policy, you can select the device policy, whether it be a normal, a whitelist, a blocked, a group policy, or selected different policies by SSID. And you can see here this particular one, you can select a group policy, tell it no Google Video. That will block the Google Video. You can whitelist that. Once you whitelist it, it allows them access to everything. It also keeps them from having to accept the splash screen that pops up on a daily basis. I've got the current splash screen set to refresh every 24 hours. The the other thing you will see is you will get your IP network address. You'll get the MAC address of the device. It gives you a lot of flexibility in how you handle the individual devices. There's a great feature in Air Marshal. I'm going to jump around on you a little bit,
It's
Pablo.
fine.
Air Marshal allows you to go in and see rogue SSIDs. It will give you an idea of, and here's one for instance, my telephone earlier, I had the access on. it kicks up and it'll tell you, it's an uncontained SSID. There's 287 other SSIDs that are being broadcasted for one reason or another. Once you see these, you can select how you want to handle those. You can either leave them uncontained, you can contain them, which means they won't have access to function in your area to a certain extent. You can whitelist those where they can still be maintained. It will tell you if there's spoofs, if there's malicious broadcast happening, or if there's packet floods happening. It looks like I have two at this time. Um,
A few days ago,
one of
yeah.
the one of the things I really want to point out is the monitoring that Meraki does for you. About a week after we put Meraki in place, um, I got an email from the Meraki devices, the administrative console, that said, hey, you've got some DNS issues going on. About 15 minutes later, we did have DNS issues going on. We lost our internet service. Um, Really proactive in its monitoring features and how it handles and notifies you. And there's several options when you set that up to tell it when you want to be notified, what you want to be notified of. So it's very proactive in its monitoring. If you'll go back up, Pablo, to the list of access points, you can see I'll share the access points that I have here in this particular network. Um, and it will tell you whether it's a gateway, whether it's mesh speed, how much data is being transferred over each of the individual APs. It will tell you the IP address that it has on the LAN, and it will also tell you the serial number of that particular device. Pablo, if you don't care, I would like to go down to, I can't remember if it's under configure or organization, where we're going to add new devices real quick.
Oh, sure. If we want to add devices to this network, we can just go here.
So at this point, things are fairly easy. You've got a new access point, or for instance, I've ordered 60 new access points. If you click on claim over on the right hand side, it's going to ask you enter either your serial numbers or your order number. Once you get your order number, you type that order number in there, you hit claim, it immediately claims every device that you have on that particular order. After it's claimed that, you'll see it close the screen you're on. You will see it on this screen, all those devices that have been ordered and are assigned to that particular order number. When you want to add it to the network, just like Pablo's done, you click those particular access points, either by MAC address or serial number, you determine where they are, and then you click add access point. Once you've added those access points, that's it. They get the configuration that network has. So we're under network Talbert House Wireless. If we click add access point at this, it adds those 3 access points to my existing network and does the configuration for me, and they're ready to use. The It takes about, in my case, I've seen anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes for the device to actually reach the cloud and report that it's online. Once it's online and gets the configuration, everything at that point is complete. You're ready to mount the AP and it's ready for use. Let's switch networks for a minute and go to one of our, let's see here. Scroll up. There you go. Let's do 2534 Victory. I think there's one switch in that location. So when we created these networks to start with, we did not have the switches. We had the order numbers. The switches had not arrived. They were stored in a warehouse because we weren't ready for them. We went in and pre-configured all the configurations for these switches. And Pablo, if you want to click on one of those and open the configuration,
Yep.
that will be fine. We went in and pre-configured everything and would either copy an existing configuration, because if you have a switch in a location, when you add a new one, it asks you if you would like to copy a configuration from another network. You can do that. So we preloaded anything that we could copy from another network. We copied from another network. Anything that we couldn't, we pre-configured. That made it very simple because once they came in, we sorted by serial number as to what location they would go to, took them out, plugged them up. Once they connected to the Meraki cloud, they got the configuration and it was finished. There's no command line interface to program. It's all done in the cloud and it's very, very simple to do. Um, Once you're in the switches, you get a lot of options. You can see a lot of these ports have the P on them. That's for power over Ethernet. And then you've got some that don't carry that designation. The thing I liked most is we were very concerned when we decided which switch we were going with on the amount of power that would be used on each individual port. If you look, will you click on one of those ports again? There's a total. If you look at the individual port, under PoE, it shows you 2.8 watt and advertised 4.7 watt. So it will tell you how much power is being used on each individual port. Another thing that's a very nice feature is under status, if you look at the LLDP, it'll tell you the name. If that device is named and set up correctly, it will tell you the name of that device that's plugged into that port. In this case, it's a Mitel 5312 IP phone. On that phone, if you look on down the next step under current clients, it will show you that there's two devices actually connected to that. Our phones are loop-through phones. The phone plugs into the port. Whatever device you're using on your desktop plugs into the phone. So it shows me that there's two devices there. It shows me the IP address of them. It shows which VLAN they're using. It shows the MAC address as well as showing the amount of traffic that's being pushed at that device level. So that makes that very nice when you're digging in looking for something in particular. If you'll go back a layer, I believe, Pablo, and let's actually jump over. I think that's it for what I wanted to talk about on the switches. Let's talk about go to the clients here for a minute. One of the things that's very nice, and you can actually do this from several different locations, but if I'm looking for a client and I know either the name, MAC address, or IP address of that client and don't want to have to look through every switch that's in a particular network, you can go right here to search clients and type the IP address or name, and in this case, let's use TH08108. And you can see as you do that, it narrows it down to that client. Once you click on that client, it's going to tell you where that is plugged into. You can see it's switch 1 at 2534 Victory Network at that location in port 2. So once we click on port 2, it takes us directly to that port. If we need to do any configuration changes at this point, we've reached that point, we're going to hit edit configuration, and there's your list of options that are available to make changes to or edit during that point. You can name this device, you can tag the particular port for the device, or you can add multiple VLANs. There's also the ability at this point to MAC whitelist a device. And going back, so if you make a change, you see that Pablo's hitting cancel on everything so he doesn't change my network. If you hit change, it's going to ask you, do you want to save change? And it will not, if you try to exit the page, it will not let you exit the page. It will kick up again and say, do you want to save your changes? So it's very proactive in making sure that you save your changes or you don't save your changes. It prefers to have an answer at that point. All right, Pablo, let's jump around one more time. I want to show a totally different network, or a totally different device. Let's go to CPH, scroll down, CPH security.
This is a great tour, by the way, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is one of the security devices that Meraki owns. It's taken a minute to load, that Meraki manufactures. In this particular area, we've got a MX90 that we use. Internet line comes in, connects directly to the internet port on the MX90. This is a high availability client, so we had two options. We could either run dual internet lines and have it fail over if the first one would happen to go down, One of the things we ran into at this location when we started looking at that is if you run dual internet lines in a rural location, there's a 99% chance they both exist on the same telephone pole. So if a car hits the telephone pole, you've still lost it. Um, this particular device, it's not plugged in at this time, but it also has the capability of having a USB modem plugged into it. So at this time, that is our temporary failover device. They have an internet line that comes in. It has a USB modem plugged into the USB port on the front of it. And if the internet line is unplugged, it immediately fails over with no loss to the USB device that is plugged in. There's several listed USB devices that are compatible, so you just have to pick and choose what works with your service provider. As we come into this, you can see there the internet light is lit up. You can see traffic there below. Port 9F, that's a fiber port that links out to the switch at this location. There's two switches that are fibered together. The buildings are about 100 feet apart at this particular location. You can see the internet traffic there in the graph below. You can also see the HTTP traffic that is going at various times throughout the day. And scrolling back up, let's go to configure. The MX devices, and I can't give you a definite list. I know the MX90 and the MX80 provide it. Um, they provide the wireless concentrator. They provide the site-to-site VPN. They will provide a firewall. You can purchase an advanced security license with the device. We recently, we're getting ready to bring a new site online, and we're looking for a low-cost solution for connecting it back to our main office. And how we're going to achieve that is we're going with an MX60, purchasing the advanced security license. With the mix of the two, the advanced security license allows you to do some filtering, proxy-like operations on the security device. But what it's going to allow us to do is with the MX60, we can connect via tunnel back to the MX90 that serves as our client VPN or wireless concentrator site-to-site VPN device here at the executive office. So there's several options with the security devices. You can do some traffic shaping. Active Directory LDAP authentication is available. One of the ways my group of guys that work with me and some of the guys that work for me have Z1 devices. We discussed those earlier. Those are a small low cost option that you can hand out to remote teleworker type people. They have a lot of the same functionality that you'll see in the MX60, MX80s, MX90s. We use those to tunnel back in to the executive office and have full network connectivity. Just it it is exactly like sitting at my desk when I'm not sitting in this office. And there was a few little gotchas with that. I'll share those. And actually, I'll show this one real quick, Pablo. I know we're getting close on time. If you'll go to the network
Yep.
and go to the very bottom, I think it's Z1. This is my particular Z1 teleworker. So this device is set up to provide two different things. One, it provides, to start with, I want to show you, we were talking about cellular status. If you look under status right now, it shows that mine's running on cellular status. I love this because my wireless company at home, or my internet company at home, swears that my internet service is never down. Well, apparently it's down today because I have failed over to my cellular device for connectivity on this. It's connected via cellular device right now. It's got an IP address. If I was sitting in my house right now, I could be perfectly capable of doing everything that I do sitting at my desk, have access to full network capabilities. I've got this set up with dual SSIDs. It allows me to have one SSID that I connect my work laptop to connect back and tunnel in to the executive office. I have a second SSID set up that is used for mobile devices in my house that the kids or family may use that only allows internet access, that keeps them separated. Both sides of that SSID are passworded. The second thing I've done on that, if you'll go under configure, and I believe it's under addressing and VLANs, I've split the actual ports that are available on the Z1. I think I have port 1 and 2 set up where if I connect to it wired, it allows me connectivity, full function, and tunnel back to the executive office. And port 3 and 4 only allow internet access. And I've got those set on 2 different VLANs so that it actually splits that traffic. It doesn't look like it wants to load. It may not be online. There we go. You can see that I've got 2 separate VLANs, 2 separate subnets. The appliance grabs 2 separate IP addresses. And then below that, you can see the per port VLAN configuration and where it is separated, that it only gets, for the first 2 ports get VLAN 111, which allows me full tunnel back to the work or office. The third and fourth ports get VLAN 222, which also is the wireless VLAN for internet access only. And I could go on all day. There's so many features and different availabilities that have made day-to-day operations, not only for the IT staff, a lot easier, but we have seen a nice increase in our uptime. We were averaging about a 94, 95% uptime over all of our sites prior to, and I think now we're running close to a 99.7 or point 0.8. So just the difference in the manageability and the notifications was a big part of it, moving forward with the Meraki solution.
That's pretty impressive uptime, Brad, and I want to thank you for giving us that tour. That was actually fantastic. It was a great example of how you're using specific parts of the solution across switching and security and Wi-Fi and even teleworker. So I can't thank you enough. That was pretty awesome. We are at the top of the hour. Brad, I noticed that you were answering questions as you went along, so it seemed like you were even reading the minds of the audience. Along with that, and Kat typing in questions to answers to questions that were entered, I think we addressed pretty much all of them. So, Brad, I want to thank you once again for taking the time out of your schedule and sharing this wonderful story with us and with the rest of the audience.
Thank you, Pablo. And if you would like, or if anybody would like to contact me, please feel free. I don't have a problem sharing more experiences or gotchas or anything to that point moving forward, or even more success stories that we've experienced with the Meraki product.
Great. Thank you, Brad. And thank you, everyone in the audience, for attending and for those fantastic questions. And I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Thanks, and bye bye.